know. 5 points in the darkness make a different kind of show. They say we're better together, but what do they know when the stars align differently down here below? And maybe we'll rise when we cut all the ties. There's a flag that we fly under our own sky. Remember all the stories that your granddad told about a republic that wouldn't be controlled. Now the suits in the city say we've all been sold, but there's a fire burning that just won't get old. And maybe we'll rise when we cut all the ties. There's a flag that we fly under our own sky. They draw their lines on paper, we draw ours in the sand. Some dreams are getting closer, while some don't understand. Don't understand. The highways stretch forever toward a setting sun, where cattle graze on memories of battles won. They say unity's the answer, but maybe we're done with playing by the rules of the chosen ones. Oh, maybe we'll rise when we cut all the ties. There's a flag that we fly under our own sky. And maybe we'll rise when we cut all the ties. There's a flag that we fly under our own sky.
Well, good evening, friends. Hang on. Let's make sure. Yeah, I'm live, right? Wow. All right. Hey, look, I've got the old school microphone in front of me, like from the old days. So that kind of tells you maybe why I'm a few minutes late. Little technical things here and there, but be that as it may, do me a favor, because I haven't had a lot of time to check this. Let me know in the comments wherever you're watching this. Let me know if the sound is coming through loud and clear, because there was literally no time to test this before I got started. Wow. It's okay though, right? Look at that. I got a 5x5 and I'm cool. And you know what? Here's the deal. It may actually sound better, right? This is This is reminiscent of when I used to run a DJ shift on Radio Free Texas every single day. And this is literally the microphone that I used for that very thing. So it was great to be able to pull this thing back out and put it back in service. It has served me well over the years. Anyway, hey, good. Thank you, Debbie. Thanks, Chris. Really do appreciate that. Okay, super. I think we're good to go. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to Late Night Coffee Talk. This is that time once a week where I take a break from what I'm working on and come fire the camera up and answer your questions. By the way, I'm Daniel Miller, president of the Texas Nationalist Movement. I forgot that part, but I got it right. I got there. So anyway, this is literally what I do. I come here, I fire this up, I answer your questions, whatever those questions may be, and some of you I think took that to heart this week because I have already got some submitted that are not the usual questions, and they're like some of them are TEXIT adjacent, some of them are personal. It's kind of wild, but anyway, I'm going to try to get through as many of these as I possibly can. And a note, if you want to submit your questions, here's what you do. If you're on the Texian app, which you should be, right? Texian.app. Or you can just go to the Apple App Store, the Google Play Store, download the mobile app. But anyway, we're live streaming over there. Actually, there was a question about the Texian app tonight. But anyway, you can go over there. If you have questions, use the Q&A section to drop your questions over there. Don't just drop them in chat. We have a dedicated Q&A section for these live streams, so be sure you drop them in there. If you're watching on any of the others, right? So that would be YouTube, Facebook, X, Rumble, any of those places, right? And we're multiple pages, multiple accounts on those platforms. It's real simple. First and foremost, do what you can, right? Like it, share it, subscribe to it, notification bell, do all the cool things wherever you are right now. But it's also super easy to submit a question, right? You can drop your question in the chat there on YouTube, on Facebook, on X, on Rumble. Just drop your question in the chat. And we will do our dead level best to catch it and add it. And that is the thing that I got to talk about next, right? Which is I am flying solo tonight. Kara's mother had surgery today, and normally she is running through all these chats and finding the questions and getting them aggregated. So she's not here, and I'm doing it. So not only am I answering and doing this, but now I'm also filtering for questions. So look, if some slip through, I ask for your forgiveness in advance. Okay. All right. Let's see. Let me just make sure we're solid over here. We got that going. Oh yeah. And I forgot the other way you can ask your question, right? You can always email it like many of you already did to coffeetalk@thetnm.org. That's coffeetalk@thetnm.org. And you will see it down here at the bottom of the page. Yeah, lots of cool things going on. And, thank you. I appreciate those of you extending me grace in advance. I'm going to need it. It's been a long time. Look, I'm a multitasker by nature, but it's been a while since I multitasked one of these during a coffee talk. So just bear with me, friends. All right, a couple of things real quick that I want to knock out. I want to begin tonight by absolutely thanking the sponsor of Late Night Coffee Talk. That's Universal Coin and Bullion, right? At universalcoin.com. They are called America's Gold Expert. And look, for those of you who have been keeping up with the TNM, you absolutely know where we stand on the issue of sound of money. The TNM fought like crazy to get the gold depository done. We fought like crazy to help get transactional gold done. And ultimately, it's all about us building the foundation for a self-governing independent nation of Texas. And so as a T&M founding partner, the sponsor of this broadcast, Universal Coin and Bullion has got one heck of a history, full of amazing and knowledgeable people on the issue of precious metals, coins, all of those things that you would want to know. And they are committed to making sure that those of you out there in Texas that are looking for an on-ramp to get into sound money have an opportunity to do that. So head over to universalcoin.com. That's universalcoin.com. Tell them that the TNM sent you and give them a great big thank you for supporting the work that we do. All right. That said, look, I've got a ton of questions to get through tonight already, but feel free to submit as many as you would like, and we will do what we can to get to them. All right. Let's see here. Yeah. I love it. All right. I think I'm just going to take questions. I have plenty I could talk about, which, we were not here last week because we were preparing to travel. We participated in the Champions Award dinner for Grassroots America We the People. Joanne Fleming and her team up there in Tyler. Really, really good to be able to be there with the leadership team, see a lot of TNMers there, but get an opportunity to see Joanne, visit with some phenomenal activists that are, they're not all pro-Texit, but you can't walk into a room and 100% be pro-Texit unless you walk into one of our rooms, right? But got to meet with a lot of the elected officials. A lot of Texas First Pledge signers were there as well. So a big thank you to Joanne and the team for having us a spot there, and a big howdy to everyone that we got to visit with while we were there. But that being said, I wasn't here last week. So you got really 2 weeks to sit with the Can Texas Make It paper that's out there. And I have to tell you, there are a lot of folks out there that got their hands on that thing and absolutely have just had meltdowns over it, right? I mean, there's a lot of things in there that we know. I'm not going to go back over everything that's in the paper. But what I am going to do is encourage you, if you haven't already done so, head over there to cantexasmakeit.com and download your copy of that paper, right? Download your copy of it, read through it, pull out whatever great information you find, because there's some bombshells in there, and spread the word, right? Send it out amongst the fleet, everyone you know. And I actually, on the social media platform X, I posted an article that I wrote really about one of the big impacts that I talked about, which is the broken relationship between Texas and the federal government, and all of that impact hitting those that are 36 years old and younger, right? And what a absolute burden it's going to be moving forward if we continue to stay attached to the federal system. And what else can I say that hasn't already been said about being attached to the federal government?
Everything the federal government touches turns to crap.
I mean, right? It's true. It's true. Everything they touch turns to crap. And the problem becomes, the longer we stay attached to this entire system, the worse it becomes for us, the harder it becomes for us to extract ourselves from the doom that awaits. Okay. So again, go to cantexasmakeit.com, get that paper downloaded, get it shared, and understand what's at stake here, because there is so much at stake. All right. Let's get to some of your messages and emails. Ernest, Texas can and will make it alone because we are supporting the rest of the nation already. Well, we're supporting the rest of the union. The United States is not a nation. And if you don't get that reference, I'm going to invite you to go read my entire. It's not an essay. It's not as big as a book, but it's called Nation, State, and Country. You can go find it on my personal website. But I would encourage you to do that. Is to read that. But you're not wrong. We can and we will make it alone. But that's the thing. None of us are really. No nation state is ever truly alone, right? I had a long conversation with Dr. Thomas Naylor many years ago, and this was early days of the T&M, and I was being a typical Texan. I was doing a lot of chest thumping about how awesome our economy is, ranked among the rest of the economies of the world, and how we could effectively be self-sufficient. And that stirred up an entire conversation. Dr. Naylor made the point. He said that since nation states trade with one another, self-sufficiency has never been a thing, right? Someone else always has something that you would like, and you always have something that they would like, and that's where you have trade, right? It's just what we do as individuals scaled up to the size of nation states. And he had a point. He's like, the reality is that the bar is not self-sufficiency, it's viability. And but the good news is, across both of those, we kind of blow everybody else out of the water. So anyway, thank you for that comment, Ernest. Liz, what happens after Donald Trump is no longer president? What plans are in place? Well, they have plans. I mean, Donald Trump being president or not being president has zero impact on our desire to be independent, nor should it, because yet again, this is that thing that we talked about in 2016, where they predicted the death of people wanting Texas to be independent because they got somebody they thought was friendly in the White House. And, again, don't make me play the clip again, right? Everything the federal government touches turns to crap, right? We know this. And so it really doesn't matter who gets their gas bill at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. The reality is the federal system is terminally broken. And therefore, that relationship between Texas and the United States as an entity is broken. So it really doesn't matter, right? You don't get to vote for the 2.5 million unelected federal bureaucrats, right? You only get to vote for 2 of the senators out of a body of 100. You only get to vote for 38 of the congressmen out of 435, right? So let's don't pretend like we have a say or that Texas could turn around the federal system, because that's not going to happen, right? So what happens after he's no longer president? The exact same thing that we're doing right now, right? But from their point of view, it's just kind of business as usual, right? What plans are in place? Same plan we've been operating from the TEXIT blueprint since day one. Not a single thing changes for us. All right. Thanks for that question, Liz. All right. I see Debbie recognized art. Yes. Okay. Okay. Let's go take a look over here real quick. I told you there's going to be some pauses. Okay. Eric says, Daniel, we're losing the population battle. Immigration from north and west will kill us. TNM now. Okay. So, this kind of brings up an interesting topic of discussion, right? Because it deals with growth of the organization, growth of, and when I say the organization, I mean the organized effort. I don't mean the hope, wish, dream sort of kind of sidelines. I mean the organized effort to secure Texas independence. But it also deals with some classic misconceptions about the people that are moving here from other states and what their desires are and where they sit on, their political beliefs. There is this tendency to classify all of this in-migration from other states as just a absolute political demographic bomb for people who just want to be federal bootlickers, right? Or have these very weird foreign ideologies to people here in Texas. And it's really simply not the case, right? I mean, you've got people that are leaving Texas because it is not as much like California or some of these other places that they're leaving. And I've talked about this many, many, many times before about what the beliefs are. But the reality is, look, we hear from these people. We see how they vote. We can't classify all that in-migration as something akin to Silicon Valley company flees California, transplants here, and brings all their workers in, because that's not really indicative of the totality or even a major percentage of the net in-migration. Okay, that's the reality. That's facts, and some people may not want to accept that, but that's just the reality. And I have to deal in the real world. I can't deal in fantasy or imagine grievance. I got to deal with what's in front of me. Okay, and that's the reality of it. We know beyond a shadow of a doubt that because the polling, we saw this when Cruz and O'Rourke hit each other head to head in the Texas Senate race. We saw it with the Abbott and O'Rourke race. And I think we're seeing it again, is a lot of those people that are coming here to Texas are frankly far more Texan than some native born people that are here, right? And I know I may catch some flack about that, but that's just the reality. And we know this because you effectively have people selling their homes, leaving their families, selling their businesses, parachuting in the middle of Texas specifically for the purpose of Texas leaving the union, right? And we know this because, I mean, who do they reach out to, right? They reach out to us in larger numbers than I think many people will ever know. But that's just the truth of it. So, imagine for a moment that you were to sell your livelihood, sell everything, leave everything behind and go parachute into North Korea with the explicit goal of of overthrowing a totalitarian dictatorship in North Korea. Well, should we be mad at those people, right, that are coming here to help us? I mean, if that's the case, then the Texas Revolution never would have happened. And, if that were the case, the Texas Revolution never would have been won, right? Because people came from places that were not Texas to help Texas become independent. So I just, Eric, I just want to be clear. I don't see a fact-based case that in-migration is hurting us. Now, to the second point of what you talked about, from an organizational standpoint, when we're talking about building capacity and connecting with people, we have to ensure that the growth of the organization, identified supporters, outpaces the percentage growth of registered voters. Okay. So just so you guys know, I mean, this is how much we monitor and measure. That is a number that I look at every single month when voter figures are released. I'm looking to see what our registered supporter numbers are. I'm looking to see what our infrastructure is, how many potential leaders we're working, everything else. And I compare that number to the percentage growth in registered voters. And I'm going to tell you, because I don't pull any punches, we have got a capacity problem, right? The TNM has got a serious capacity problem. We have more work than we have workers, right? We have more people that are coming in that poll numbers show are supportive of what we are doing. We have more of those people out there than we have people that will connect and communicate with them. And here's what's crazy, right? I was having a conversation with David Brunig, Angela Matusky, organizational development. Okay. And, we were talking about just sort of how people think about, and this is activists, it's leaders, it's everybody in the organization. We talk about how they think about what the job is, right? What the work that has to be done is versus what in reality it is. Okay. So I'm going to just going to throw some numbers at you that I threw at them, right? Because this is how I think. We know that there are we know that there's roughly 18 million registered voters here in Texas. Okay. That's a fact. Secretary of State's office has that. Okay. And here's what we know. We know that the good poll numbers with the good questions have us at 60%, up to 66%. Okay. The ones that are asked right, that the thumb's not put on the scale. But I don't want to take those numbers. I'm going to take the worst, most crooked polling on our particular issue. Okay. The worst that we've had in modern times. And when I say the most crooked, the methodology is broken. There's a whole podcast episode where I talk about that. So let's just say 35%. Let's just say, all right, you're cool. 35% is that number. So what does that mean? Well, if I take 35% of, 18 million voters, then that means that every day when I go out of my house, live my life, do all my normal stuff, there are over 6 million people who are already thinking like us, that if it goes on a ballot, it wins. Okay. I mean, that's where they're at. That's how they would vote, that Texas become a self-governing independent nation. Now, understand, that's the low number. That's not the high number. That's the lowest, most in somebody else's favor number that possibly exists. Okay. So if that's the case, that means that at worst, I can walk outside of my house and a little over every third person I run into is probably going to be somebody like us. And that person has probably not been connected to the TNM, right? We're at what, 650,000 registered supporters right now. So what does that tell you? Well, that tells you we got a number over here, 6 million, and we've got about 10% of that number that we've reached. So we've only reached a tenth of the people that we absolutely need to reach. Now, what does that look like for you and for me? Well, on average, depending on the studies you look at, each of us has about anywhere from 50 to 100 people that we know, that we have a relationship with. Okay. That, we know from, that includes our spouse, right? Our children, our neighbors, our coworkers, people that we go to church with, people that old friends from high school and college, and, 50 to 100 people that we have active relationships with some sort, some better and deeper than other relationships. Some people are friends, some people are acquaintances, some people are family, but maybe not friends. Haha, that was funny. But you get the point, right? So let's just say it's 100, right? Let's just kind of loosen it up and let's take that. Let's say 100 that in your circle about 100 people. And I've seen some of your Facebook friends lists. Okay. You probably, you may know more than that, right? But let's just cull it down to the 100. Well, if that's the case, then based off of the numbers, out of that 100, 35 of the people that on average will be thinking like you are on this issue of Texas independence at a minimum, right? Take it down. Maybe you only know 50 people and have relationships with 50 people. What does that look like? That's 17 or 18 people, right? And so my question becomes, are you having that conversation with them, right? Are you bringing them into the organization? Are you having those conversations, and not just having the conversation? Because look, We can talk till the cows come home, but at the end of the day, it's the talking is part of the work, but it's not all of the work in totality, right? Are you bringing them into the organized effort to make Texas independence happen? And that's really the job. I mean, that's really the thing. People, and this actually gets to one of the questions that was emailed in. What can I do? How about, do all the things yourself, right? Register your support, get set up on TEXIT, start connecting in your county, right? But beyond that, outside of an app and sign up for these things, the single biggest thing you can do is talk to the people that you know, and not just talk to them, but connect them and bring them into the organized effort to make this happen. And, the instruction is the same to them once they come in. Because it's very rare that two people that are friends, right, that have a relationship together have exactly the same set of friends and acquaintances. There may be some overlap, but the reality is that we all know different sets of people. And at its heart, this must be a people movement. It has to be. When people ask and they say, how long is this going to take? It's like, how long is it going to take you to go talk to those and find those 35 that look, I use the low end, the 35%. Now, you take that number up to what we know the polling is, which is 60 to 66%. And you not quite double that number that you probably know, but you definitely increase it significantly, so that those numbers are probably much better. And so that's why I always laugh. It's like, I love it when we do tables at gun shows and we go out and we do flag waves and we do these things because it helps us reach people that otherwise might not have known, right? It's casting a net. But, we have to stay visible. But I always chuckle at how much of that is done versus just simply doing the thing that we know we need to do, which is connect with the people that we already know. That should be the easiest thing we can do. And so Eric, thank you for your question, because it gave me an opportunity to address that. That's how we build capacity, right? This is how our growth outpaces the percentage increase in registered voters every time. If you want to stay on top of this, right? If you're concerned about the net in migration, then it's about really activating every one of us to go out there and have those conversations and to connect those people with the organizations to help us have more. I mean, it's literally a situation that if everyone in the TNM did the thing that I just described, we would 10x. We would grow by a factor of 10 in a matter of months. And then what does that mean? Well, that means we will have reached the tipping point. And then, I mean, it's already an inevitability, but it's going to happen much sooner rather than later at that type of growth. So anyway, great question, Eric. Thank you for that. And a quick reminder, if you are just now joining us, if you have a question, drop it in the chat wherever you're watching this. Unless you're on the TEXIT app, and then drop it in Q&A, because we have a specific spot for that. Yes, we are live streaming on the TEXIT app. For those of you out there that are like, hey, what's up with all this? Well, we actually truly live stream on our own platform. It's just what we do because we're that cool. It's true. It really is. All right. Let me get over here and find some more questions. All right. It's from Terry, who is awesome enough that he puts his declared Texian number, which is number 13, in his signature. It's pretty awesome. All right. Terry says, why not buy for TNM a video like those for Spencer Pratt and Steve Hilton? Okay. And then a plug for the studios. It goes into the question that we, when we get asked about this stuff all the time, right? Why don't you do fill in the blank? Why don't you go get a full body tattoo that just says TEXIT over and over and over. Or, why don't you get billboards from one end of Texas to the other? Why don't you advertise on fill in the blank? It's the same answer, right? Which is return on investment, right? How much is it going to cost us? And what is the potential impact on our goals, right? And some people may say, well, if you advertised on TV, you'd get more buzz. But I just told you, I literally in answering Eric's question or addressing his concern, what our attitude about that is, right? Will there be a time to do that? Absolutely. But just to throw money out there in the ether, look, we're not made of money. We're not, which is a great encouragement for some of you to go out there and potentially donate, right? Go to our donation page, go to the website, go to donate, go make a contribution, right? We are not made of money. We are not printing money. We don't have the luxury that the federal government does of flipping a switch or letting the printing presses run and suddenly we're flush, right? Which, by the way, we're almost at 40 trillion in debt while we're under the federal system. So just bear that in mind. That being said, will we do some of that at some point? Sure. Will it be specifically that, like what Spencer Pratt and Steve Hilton did? Maybe, maybe not. All of those things get evaluated as we need to do them. We are a lean, mean fighting machine here. And so to blow money, just to blow money, not in our DNA. It's just not. There are these things that are cool to have, nice to have, must have, and all the must haves get satisfied before the nice to haves, and that has to be satisfied before the cool to haves. So there you go. Thanks for your question, Terry. All right. Let's see what we got here. Guys, I'm staying on top of it. Can you believe this? I really hope the sound is good on this thing. I really miss this microphone. All right. Let's see what we got here. Okay. This one is from Cheryl in Georgetown. Well, okay. You've been at this nearly 30 years. On the hard days, what keeps you from just walking away? That's an interesting question. What keeps me from, well, I made an oath. I like to do what I said I'm going to do, but it's more than that. Oh, by the way, hang on. I did see this question in here. Let me find it. Randy asked, is that real coffee in your cup this late, or are we all pretending? Coffee pot, cup. I brought it in here because Kara's not here. And so I can't send the signal. So I get to refill my own. Maybe I should have been doing this all along. All right. Back to Cheryl. You got to understand, Texas nationalism is not something you do, right? And this is how, and I'll just tell you. You want some inside baseball? I'll just tell you how I can always tell those that are going to stay with this versus the people that are going to tap out when things get difficult or drag on, or they don't get an answer to a question. I can tell you what the difference is, and the difference is quite simple, and it's one of mindset, right? The ones that are going to stick it out are the ones that they don't view Texas nationalism as something that they do. They look at being a Texas nationalist as something that they are, right? And so, it's kind of like asking someone if it's something that you are, right? If it is indeed your worldview, if it's the way that you look at the world and you see things framed through those lenses, then you don't walk away from that, right? That's not something you can walk away from. As opposed to if this is just something you do, then literally it's just one crisis, one emergency away from you either deprioritizing it or walking away from it, right? Um, it's not for people like me, it's not a hobby, right? There's lots of hobbies out there. People collect stamps and baseball cards, and they go boating and fishing and all those, and those are all great. I mean, people do those. They have things that are outside of this, but being a Texas nationalist can't be one of those things that you just kind of do, like, softball or, whatever, right? It really, the difference between the go-getters and the BSers is that they have the go-getters internalize, right? This becomes so ingrained in their every fiber of their being that you can't quit because there's nothing to quit from, right? Quitting it is denying who you are. And that's a very different mindset. And look, I don't know. Not everybody's going to adopt that mindset. Not everybody is going to be just sunk in. That is a function of really of time, right? Adopting that mindset, becoming educated in that mindset, understanding what it's like to think like a Texas nationalist, how to speak like a Texas nationalist, and frankly, all of those things that we do sort of flow out of who we are and what we believe. So those things that we do become natural. They become the default actions of someone who believes that is truly, they're true believers. And I just take you back to something that we've talked about in leadership training. We talked about it in the TEXIT blueprint. It's that whole thing about tipping point theory and that study that came out of Rensselaer Polytechnic, where they measured that when a population reached 10% or more of unshakable belief, that position was always 100% of the time adopted by the majority. Okay. That unshakable belief, that is the key. So, Cheryl, here's the bottom line. What keeps me from just walking away? How do you walk away from who you are? How do you separate that out? You don't. It's not easy. It's not easy. It's just not. So, have there been days where I have definitely been frustrated to the point of saying, you know what, to heck with all this nonsense? Sure, we all have those days, but yet here I am, right? Because I can't deny that any more than I can deny who I am as a person. It's just who I am. I'm a Texas nationalist. It's the reality. But anyway, thank you for that question. And Randy, yes, this is definitely coffee. All right, let's make the rounds. I don't know what that means, buddy. I seriously don't know what that means. I got an email. I don't know what that means. Okay. Let's get back over here. Let's check this one spot. Okay, Terry had a follow-up question to my answer. He says, why not add a fund it section where we put a price tag on a certain endeavor and members pledge X amount of dollars until the price is reached? Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, we'll definitely explore it. The challenge with that is pledges and collecting pledges. And that's a whole different system we have to develop, which we've been pretty adept at. You got to admit, we've rolled out some pretty cool things since the first of the year. So, note made. We'll see. We'll do a little fact-finding mission. Okay. Okay, this is a really good question. All right, this is from Timothy on the texting app, and he says, "Oh, by the way, guys, notice we got that whole thing fixed where your names were not coming through. You're welcome." All right, Daniel, you've mentioned that TEXIT is a nonpartisan effort, which I agree. I know that we have planks number 21, state sovereignty, and 231, which, by the way, has been renumbered in the final platform. That's a whole other conversation. The right and the Texas GOP policy positions, that would be the platform. Do we or will we have the same type of planks in the Democrat policy position? So you're asking if it's in the you're asking if the Texit planks are in the Democrat platform. So here's what I know, right? The first party platform to actually include a vote on independence here in Texas was the Libertarian Party of Texas. They adopted it first. The saga for how it wound up in the Republican Party platform, well documented, but I would encourage everyone to go back and sort of read through some of those articles on the Texian Partisan, because there is a history there. And I know how interesting the history was, because number one, I lived it, and number two, I'm writing that 30-year retrospective on the modern Texas independence movement, and I had to go effectively relive all of that again. So very interesting story. So let me ask you, let me see if I understand the question, right? Do we have, or will we have, the same type of planks? We do not. And whether or not we will is going to depend on that percentage of Democrat voters that believe that Texas should be independent. And we know they exist. We know they exist because they show up in the poll numbers. And, but it's going to be up to them, much like it was in the Republican Party, much like it was in the Libertarian Party, to coalesce and push that effort through their political party. That being said, and I don't know what the outcome was. I haven't seen their platform, right, for this, the one that they had for the convention they had this year. I haven't seen the platform. I do not suspect that it's in there. But the Democrat Party has a lot of problems. Right. And, this is very similar to the conversation that I've had about the Republican Party of Texas. I can look at this as in a very detached way and say they got problems, and I can identify what those problems are. And the Democratic Party of Texas has a lot of problems. One of those has been a significant grassroots problem. Right. Let's not forget, I don't know what happened this convention, but the previous two conventions failed to get a platform passed because they didn't have a quorum. Literally, somebody got to the mic before the platform and said they made a quorum call, right? They made that privilege motion for quorum, and they didn't have quorum, and the convention was over. It was done. No platform, right? So I don't know if they got one this go around or not, but they've got a serious grassroots problem. The other thing they have is an ideology problem. Ideologically speaking, the focus for the Texas Democrats has been of a social and political nature that is quite foreign and unfamiliar to the people of Texas. They reject it, right? And so it's they have got some significant issues over there. And we had at one time a liaison that was going to go try to organize that, and he just threw his hands in the air and said, yeah, I mean, we know our people are there. The polling shows that we've got some people over there, but anyone who thinks like us over there is running for ground and rethinking whether or not they still want to be in this party because of all the crap that they just can't get on board with. So I don't know if these people are holdouts from the whole yellow dog Democrat, the conservative Democrat situation before the party got in the weeds on all these other issues or what. But the reality is, if there was a concerted effort over there for somebody who wanted to put it in their platform, we would not discourage that in the least, right? Ultimately, we want, I mean, not just political parties, right? I mean, if your civic organization or some other organization wanted to pass a resolution calling for a vote, right? Those organizations don't have platforms, but they do pass resolutions. And if you had these organizations pass resolutions in support of a vote on this issue, the more the merrier. I mean, let's not forget, it wasn't too long ago that we had an entire effort directed squarely at county commissioners' courts, specifically for this purpose, for passing resolutions calling for a vote on Texas independence. If you wanted to do this at the city council level, city councils pass resolutions all the time. Municipalities, the vast majority, have citizen initiative where you could go and literally by petition get a vote to add it to a resolution for a city ordinance, right? Or I mean, whatever it is. I mean, there are a lot of things that can be done that really should be done, that don't involve the political parties at all. So there you go. The more people that adopt our stance, the better off we are and the closer we get to independence. So thank you for that question, Tim. Okay. It's a good one. Okay, let's see. We took that one. Okay. Michael asks on Texian. He says, considering the explosion of construction sites across Texas, what are your thoughts on introducing hard hat stickers to the Texian store? I'll tell you, my dad was an iron worker. He retired in 1980, and I can still remember all the stickers that he had on his hat that he wore. So, from your keyboard, hopefully, to the decision-making process, much like anything else, if it's something that we have to print and keep and store and inventory, all that kind of stuff, then we're going to have to gauge. One of the things we do is gauge demand before we sink any type of money into merchandise. That's just the way that it works. So if you like Michael's idea and you want hard hat stickers, you got to let us know, right? If you see things that you think we should have, let us know. We're not going to do every idea. We're going to evaluate them appropriately, and then we're going to do the ones that make the most sense. All right. Let's get over here. Lots of questions. Howdy, Nueces County. Thanks for the message. All right. Let's see what we got here. Okay, Tom. Are we actually gaining ground, or is that just what we're telling ourselves? No, I mean, we're gaining ground. The TEXIT process is happening, right? And I mean, you have to ask yourself, gaining ground, what is your measuring stick, right? What are we measuring here? Gaining ground. What does that mean? See, this is the challenge we run into, is when we're not speaking the same language, or we don't have real deal definitions that, we can't communicate, right? So are we actually gaining ground? I believe the case can be made and is quite evident across every measure that we are not only meeting expectation, but exceeding expectation, gaining ground in some places, and blowing the curve completely on others. So yeah, I mean, there's not been a single year since we were founded that we've ever gone backwards, right? Not across any of the measures that matter. So That's just the reality. So are we gaining ground? Yes. Would I like to gain ground faster? Sure. I would like for the growth graph across every metric to look like a hockey stick and go for the moon. Whether that's memberships, whether that's donations, whether that's registered supporters, whether that's declared Texians, no matter what it is, I would love for those. I would love for it to hockey stick, and it will, right? You got to understand the way that these things go is they kind of chug along, and then they go parabolic. I mean, they just go straight up. And that's just the way that they work. Yeah. Some of you should really get on TexIan and watch and take the academy course for the TEXIT blueprint, and you'll see what I'm saying. But yeah, that's not just what we tell ourselves, because look, deluding ourselves is not a strategy. It's not. And ultimately it hurts the strategy. So we have to deal with on the ground truth, what the truth is, what the reality is. And, so it's not just growth is not just what we tell ourselves is happening, right? We have to define it across what continuum, right? And what mediums and all those things, and grow the things that matter. Thanks for your question, Tom. All right. Okay, I literally just talked about this. Curtis says, I keep hearing Texas sends more to Washington than gets back. Is that actually true, and how much? Go back and watch coffee to this program, Late Night Coffee Talk. Go back and watch the last episode of this, and go to cantexasmakeit.com. Okay. See, not even a follow-up for Buddy. I mean, he's going to send something in, cause me to short circuit, and not even bother to follow up and let me know that I'm just not losing my mind. Oh, it's almost time. Okay, let's see if I can squeeze one more in. Oh, God, some of these are so good. Let me find one. I saw one about the polling. Okay, here's some rapid fire ones. Someone asked, it was Jennifer, she says, what does it actually mean to declare? Is it just signing something? Signing or reciting video or audio is part of declaring. Okay. It's not just I tick a box. It's not what we do. And for those of you who don't know what that is, if you are a supporter and you want to be like what I talked about earlier, right? If Texas independence, Texas nationalism is your worldview, then go to Texian.app, right? That's our system that we use internally, and go over there and declare. You'll see a button, become a declared Texian. Everyone that does that, essentially they get a number, and that is their number forever. And you take this oath. It's literally what happened to me August 24th, 1996. Oh, wow. That's coming up. That's a week from Monday. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, like my true real deal 30th anniversary of crossing the line in the sand is like a week from Monday. Fun stuff. All right. Where was that question? Somebody submitted a question. There it is. Dale. Okay, there it is. Oh, Dale asks, do you actually believe the current polling in the Senate and governor's races, something about it feels off? Great question. For those of you who do not know, there are polls dropping almost every day with, these horse race predictions and the Paxton Tallarico race, and for U.S. Senate, the Abbott Hinojosa race at governor, Dan Patrick versus Vicky Goodwin. I mean, there's, those are the ones that they have a tendency to kind of zero in on these polls that drop. And, they're kind of all over the place, right? Um, it beggars belief. Okay. So I'm going to just give you a quick take. This is not an analysis because we would have to break down each poll separately. Maybe I do a podcast episode about that. But here's kind of the bottom line. Number one, we're in August, right? So we're like September, October. That's the 2 months where people are going to start firming up decisions. So, take what you see now with a grain of salt. But here's particularly the close ones, but here's the reality of it. The reality is that none of those are based in reality. Like, you're going to see these pundits and these media outlets that commission these polls. They're going to come out and they're going to defend them, and they're going to say, oh, this is going to be such a, this is real because their methodology is so good. And I'm going to just tell you, like I've said before, political polling since about 2015 has been broken, like massively broken. Like, you could just make up some numbers and come closer to the outcomes of these things than what these political pollsters are. I told somebody, maybe it was even on here, that look, if you want to go make money from politics, like if you wanted to go earn, you would go set up a polling company, because for all the formulas that they use and their quote unquote methodology, the rigor is not there. It's just not. They literally just make this crap up. And I know people are going to blow back and say, oh, polling, there's legitimate out there. And, I mean, what is legitimate? Measure it by outcomes, right? Take these little snapshot polls right now where you really don't have to be that accurate, right? Because even if the outcome in November were something very different than what they reported on, well, the electorate changed. Okay. That's the excuse they'll use. But so much of this stuff just seems like total crap, right? You can't square it with what you're seeing on the ground. You can't, riding into the election night, it's going to look ridiculous, so I don't know what good these things are. And I honestly don't put a lot of stock in them. And when the Independent California Institute caught YouGov putting their thumb on the scale, I mean, caught them red-handed putting their thumb on the scale on an independence poll. This is why I don't have any faith in what these guys do. Look, can you get maybe in the ballpark? Sure. But people are, I mean, I don't know. Look, if I could figure this out, I could be a wealthy man, because I'm going to tell you, millions upon millions of dollars are being spent right now trying to figure out why political polling is broken. Because the first ones to figure it out and be able to start producing accurate polls, it becomes a game changer, right? I mean, that they will be wealthy beyond the dreams of Croesus. I mean, that's just the reality of it. So, do I put any stock up? Yeah, it looks weird because those numbers are weird. Will it be close? Probably. Absolutely. There is a lot of anger in the electorate right now, and there are a lot of people on both sides. A lot of Democrats that are not going to vote for the Democratic candidates, and a lot of Republicans that are not going to vote for the Republican candidates. And look, I half expect to see write-in candidates and the Libertarian Party candidates have okay numbers, right? I can't predict that they will win, but who knows when lightning is going to strike, right? People are furious, man. I lived through the mid-90s. that I have seen this amount of electoral fury before. But I'm just going to tell you, there's some changes coming, and it's going to be one for the history books. And so we just have to be sure that as people that are advocating for the independence of Texas, that we're doing the things necessary to make Texas stronger, to make us more operationally and functionally like a nation state. And, for us in the TNM, continue to press forward to move us toward the independence goal line, to finally accomplish the TEXIT process and get us our independence. That is the last one. And I kid you not, I had crazy time. Oh my gosh. I had 26 more questions. Sorry, guys. Sorry about that. All right. Friends, that's got to be a wrap for tonight. So a reminder, if you are not already on the Texian app, get over there and get it done, right? Go to Texian.app. It's Texian.app, right? No, it's not another app. It's not just some random thing. It's not like Angry Birds or one more thing to just take up space on your phone. This is where the people like us are organizing, right? There are people over there right now connecting, perhaps for the first time, right? Where they're plugging into their county groups and they're connecting with other like-minded Texans. And, it's everything you need for this movement to help you advance this movement right in the palm of your hand or right on your computer. Go to Texian.app and get the app. Just get it done. I shouldn't have to say this stuff over and over, right? And while you're at it, you heard it mentioned once already this evening, Texian Store. That's where you get your logoed stuff, right? Your TNM and Texit themed merch. And of course, the proceeds go to support the cause of Texas independence, the work of the TNM. And so thank you to everyone who goes over to TexianStore.com and picks up a little merch. And another shout out there to our friends at Universal Coin and Bullion for their support and sponsorship of tonight's live stream broadcast. Do not forget, get your news at the Texian Partisan. Head over to TexianPartisan.com and get your news and views and all that cool stuff from the perspective of a Texas nationalist. That's definitely where you want to get it from. All right, friends, that, as they say, is that. That is a wrap. So I want to thank you all very much for helping me get through this running solo. Best wishes to my mother-in-law, who is recovering from that surgery. Kara's over there taking care of her. And look, thank you to all of you for being on the same team, right? For getting out there and working and helping to make Texas independence a reality. So with that, I will leave you with the words that I leave you with every time we're together. They're not my words. They're the words of Sam Houston when he said that Texas will again lift its head and stand among the nations. I believe that time is now, and the question is, will you stand with her? Good night, everyone.